She was utterly horrified to see a lake of water collected around the entrance to the cave system. It was fully submerged and completely inaccessible. Her fear and desperation fueled a frantic 3-mile run to get help. The men were moving back up the far marathon passage. Though the water level had risen, they had no choice but to get back to a higher chamber as quickly as possible.
What's going on, guys? Darius Bentek coming back to you with another reaction video, and today we are doing another caving incident gone terribly wrong. And basically, this story is about a group of 10 people who basically went into a tunnel that wasn't properly mapped out, and let's just say they get reaped the consequences of that. You know, like I was saying in all my videos, if you guys enjoy it, give it a big thumbs up, and let's see what happens, because I know it ain't gonna be good.
Cave system to help out with some important mapping work. They thought they would be in for an adventurous day in the deep tunnels of Mossdale Caves. The harsh reality of what they would face is absolutely stunning. This is the fatal breakdown of the Mossdale caving tragedy.
Like, guys,
in June of 1967, 10 explorers entered the Mossdale cave system to explore and help clear some of the deeper passages for further mapping. These passages were not well documented by caving standards,
6
but
hours
the two
till
leaders
flood.
of the group felt confident in their ability to
Did it just say 6 hours till flooding? I wouldn't even, like, I'm not sure if they know this or not, but like, if I knew the cave was gonna be flooded in 6 hours, I just won't be going in there. And this is what I mean by, like, use your common sense. Anyway, let's see.
navigate the group carefully. 26-year-old leader Dave Adamson and his friend Jeff Boireau had explored Mossdale many times before. This cave system was not much of a touring cave. There were very few areas where a person could fully stand. It was mostly grueling crawls or squeezing through wet spaces filled with rocks and mud. That's why after a few hours, 4 of the group members, 2 men and 2 women, turned back as planned. Dave Adamson's fiancée was one of these casual cavers. Morag Forbes was thrilled to be getting married to Dave in less than a month. These adventurers, who only planned a light day of exploring, exited the cave around 5 o'clock. The skies were overcast, but nothing clearly threatening.
You guys see that, right? It says 3 hours and 59 seconds to flood. Like I said, I'm not sure if they know this, but like, they got to. They have to know. Like, I think we know how this is gonna end.
Dave and Jeff continued deep underground with their 4 caving friends assisting with equipment and tools. Colin Vickers, John Ogden, and Bill Frakes were top cavers. At just 17 years old, Michael Ryan was the youngest member. At this point in the day, the men were starting their crawl through the far marathon passage. This claustrophobic tunnel is the length of 3 football fields, over 900 feet of narrow rock with a light stream of water along the bottom.
The length of 2 football fields and is claustrophobic to hell. And you want to crawl through that? Oh my god.
Marathon passage must be maneuvered in a single direction because it's only 18 inches by 12 inches. Barely enough room for an average-sized person to pull themselves along. Imagine crawling in a space not much bigger than your computer screen. Shoulders pinned forward without room to spread your arms or reach back to your waist or legs. Turning around is not an option. Once you squeeze in, you are committed for at least an hour. Near marathon and far marathon are each
No way! No. So once you're in there, you're in. You gotta go the full length before you can even turn around. Like, why would you wake up and be like, yeah, I think this is a good idea? Like, come on. Oh my god.
900 feet long
Jeez.
crawls. There is a small 5-foot area between the two where a caver can partially stand before starting the next section. As the men reach the last section of the marathon, there is a further narrowing and a tight squeeze to push yourself through. The goal was to reach this next section of the caving system to clear out passages for further mapping.
2 hours till flood.
Around this time, Morag had come back to the entrance to see if the men were done yet, but she didn't see any signs that the cavers were coming out. The rain had started to fall, though nothing too alarming. Underground, they were preparing to clear passages, but noticed the streams had increased, and groundwater levels rising just slightly.
Okay, you notice streams, water levels rising a little bit. Okay, guys, time to go. Doesn't look like it's gonna slow down. But watch this. They're gonna want to keep on moving forward in hopes that it will go down. But like, you're in a cave, probably 1 hour or two away from the actual exit. You see water's level rising. That should be your clue. Okay, guys, I don't think it's gonna happen today. Let's just call it for now and see if we can try again tomorrow or the next day. Like, come on. Like, it actually pisses me off watching these kind of videos. Like, I enjoy it, but it pisses me off too because they don't use their common sense and actually, you know, clue into certain things. Like, jeez.
It would certainly have caught their attention, but may not have registered as a true threat to their mission. The water levels became disturbing. The men would have heard the increasing volume of flow, as well as felt the rising water at their feet. Knowing they were 3 hours from the entrance, the decision was made to end their work for the day. Dave knew this cave system better than anyone, so they were sure he would know when to lead them out safely. Unfortunately, they had no idea just how much water was coming their way. Morag had returned to the cave entrance a final time at 9 o'clock. She was utterly horrified to see a lake of water collected around the entrance to the cave system. It was fully submerged and completely inaccessible. Her fear and desperation fueled a frantic 3-mile run to get help. The men were moving back up the far marathon passage. Though the water level had risen, they had no choice but to get back to a higher chamber as quickly as possible. This extreme distance in such a confining chamber was likely panic-inducing with such a heavy stream of water coming at them. All their experience told them to move calmly but efficiently to get through this intimidating reality. Sure, they would emerge on the other side in a higher chamber. Young Michael and experienced Jeff were the first two to squeeze through the tight starting section of the return. A body could barely fit through portions of this passage. The cavers had to literally squeeze themselves past the rock and pull themselves forward with just their arm strength. Their rubber boots would be towing along the sides to help leverage forward as fast as possible. This time, the water would be coming right at their faces instead of following behind. Jeff Boireau was familiar with the ebb and flow of water.
I find it kind of crazy too. You say you're an expert of cave diving, an absolute expert, right? Any expert would know when you see water trickling in, that's your cue to go. If the tunnel was dry before you got in there and you see waters up to your ankle, any expert would say, okay, guys, we got to get out of here. Water level is rising. I don't want to risk anybody getting caught down here when it does rise any further, so let's make our way out. It's about a 3-hour hike back to the exit, so let's try and get out of here before it starts rising. But then again, why didn't you check the forecast before you even went down in the first place? If you were to check the forecast, you would have known that you have X amount of hours down there before the rain starts. Like, jeez, man. This is why all these incidents happen, because nobody ever uses common sense. They let their ego get in the way of survival instincts and common sense. That's exactly what happens.
In Mossdale. Surely he knew that a swift effort in Far Marathon would get he and Michael safely beyond the risky passage and into the larger chamber above. The other 4 men would have been gathering their gear and preparing for their own entrance into Far Marathon. Now the water flow was becoming more alarming. Dave Adamson was confident that he knew where to wait out the flash flood from the storm. These experienced cavers began their push, with all haste in mind. Jeff and Michael began struggling with the flood of water they were facing in the tight passage. It rose above their hands and then their shoulders.
Oh my God.
They tried to find the highest crack in the passage to lift their faces as the water rushed into the tunnel.
Oh my God.
Michael would have asked Jeff what to do, where to go. The amount of water flooding into the narrow passage was only increasing with no safe place to escape. The haunting truth was that there was nothing that they could do. Dave had led the others into this same cramped tunnel, hoping to beat the increasing water flow.
Literally
As they moved through Far Marathon, they encountered the same devastating reality that their friends had just faced. The water was too high. They turned to elevate their faces above the rising water, seeking the smallest pockets of air, but clearly there was just no escape from this trap. John Ogden was likely the last in the tunnel and heard the desperate cries of his friends to turn back. Realizing that there was no way forward, he pushed with his hands to slide his body backwards, using his feet to lift his body weight. It was only a matter of moments to make a move before he would be fully submerged in water as well. He found a small crack overhead, where he wedged his head and body to gasp for the last moment of air. Maybe the water would stop rising and he would find protection in this small space of air. It was too tight for a person to actually fit, but in the frantic fight for survival, he jammed his body and face up into the narrow slit. Outside the cave, a full rescue effort was beginning. It was clear that the entrance to the cave was completely blocked by a lake of water, but there was still hope that the men had found a safe chamber to wait in until the water levels fell. The rescuers came out in full force. Hundreds of volunteers helped dam off the entrance and install pumps to try to move the water out of the mouth of the cave. This would allow the water levels inside to fall, clearing passages for safe movement. On Sunday afternoon, a full day after the men entered the cave, rescuers were able to make it down to Far Marathon. They shouted a few times, hoping to alert the men that the passage was now clear and they could come down from their high waiting chamber. It wasn't until 2 sets of legs were seen protruding from the ridge of the tunnel that the grim reality was revealed. These 2 bodies were Jeff and Michael, who had lifted their upper bodies into a ridge along the path to try to access the last breaths of air. The reality of the situation was completely devastating to rescuers, who held to a slender thread of hope that these experienced cavers were able to find salvation in an air pocket. One by one, the bodies of 5 men were discovered. John Ogden's body would not be found for another 2 days.
Not one person
He had wedged
survived.
himself so aggressively into the overhead crack, it took dozens of passes to locate his contorted remains. All 6 men drowned in an inescapable flash flood that filled the entire cavern with water. The cave was closed after this tragedy, and remains the final resting place for the 6 men. In 1970, friends of the cavers entered the closed system to move the bodies to an upper chamber. It was renamed the Sanctuary.
And those are the guys that passed away. You know, I think all this could have been avoided if they actually listened and watched for signs of, water levels rising. But then again, here's some food for thought. Why would you even put yourself there? Like, if you checked the forecast and seen that it was going to rain, I just would have canceled it all together and did it another day. Me personally. But if you guys made it this far, thank you so much for watching this full video. I really appreciate you so much. I really enjoy doing these kind of videos. But then again, like I said, I do be getting heated sometimes because it's just, common sense you got to use. You know what I mean? Just common sense. But thank you guys so much. Make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And leave down in the comment section below what you guys want to see next. I am open to react to anything you guys want. I just find these cave-in videos a little more eye-opening to what lies down below. You know what I mean? Well, thank you guys so much. And I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.